Coming up on 5 Minute News. New York Community Bank buys failed Signature Bank. China's leader in Moscow for meeting with Putin. And Donald Trump says he expects to be charged any day. It's Monday, March 20. I'm Santa Templeton. New York Community Bank has agreed to buy a significant chunk of the failed Signature Bank in a $2.7 billion deal, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corps announced late on Sunday. The 40 branches of Signature Bank will now become Flagstar Bank. Flagstar is one of New York Community Bank's subsidiaries, with the deal including the purchase of $38.4 billion in Signature Bank's assets, a little more than a third of Signature's total when the bank failed a week ago. The FDIC said $60 billion in Signature Bank's loans will remain in receivership and are expected to be sold off in time. Signature Bank was the second bank to fail in this banking crisis, roughly 48 hours after the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. Signature, based in New York, was a large commercial lender in the tri-state area, but had in recent years gotten into cryptocurrencies as a potential growth business. After Silicon Valley Bank failed, depositors became nervous about Signature Bank's health due to its high amount of uninsured deposits, as well as its exposure to crypto and other tech-focused lending. By the time it was closed by regulators, Signature was the third largest bank failure in US history. The FDIC says it expects Signature Bank's failure to cost the Deposit Insurance Fund $2.5 billion. But that figure may change as the regulator sells off assets. The Deposit Insurance Fund is paid for by assessments on banks, and taxpayers do not bear the direct cost when a bank fails. Chinese leader Xi Jinping is in Moscow for talks with Vladimir Putin, days after the Russian president was charged with war crimes in Ukraine by the International Criminal Court. Mr. Xi's government gave no details of what the Chinese leader hoped to accomplish during the visit. The pair declared they had a no-limits friendship before the February 2022 attack on Ukraine. But since then, China has tried to portray itself as neutral. Beijing called for a ceasefire last month, but Washington said that would ratify the Kremlin's battlefield gains. China looks to Russia as a source of oil and gas for its energy-hungry economy and as a partner in opposing what both see as American domination of global affairs. The meeting gives Mr. Putin and Mr. Xi a chance to show they have powerful partners at a time of strained relations with Washington, Europe and its neighbours. Some commentators have pointed to a possible parallel between Russia's claims to Ukrainian territory and Beijing's claim to Taiwan. Along with India and other countries who claim neutrality in the Ukraine conflict, China has stepped up purchases of Russian oil and gas, helping to top up the Kremlin's revenue in the face of Western sanctions. Beijing appears largely to have complied with US warnings not to give military support, however. Mr. Xi said in an article published on Monday in the Russian newspaper Russian Gazette that China has actively promoted peace talks, but announced no initiatives. This week's meeting follows the ICC announcement on Friday of charges that Mr. Putin is personally responsible for the abductions of thousands of children from Ukraine. Governments that recognise the court's jurisdiction would be obligated to arrest Mr. Putin if he visits. Mr. Putin has yet to comment on the announcement, but the Kremlin rejected the move as outrageous and unacceptable. In a show of defiance, Mr. Putin over the weekend visited Crimea and the occupied Ukrainian port city of Mariupol to mark the 9th anniversary of Russia's seizure of the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine. Russian news reports showed him chatting with Mariupol residents and visiting an art school and a children's centre. Former US President Donald Trump over the weekend said he expects to be arrested on Tuesday as New York prosecutors consider charges over a hush money payment to a porn star and called on his supporters to protest. A spokesman for Trump, however, said the former president had not been notified of any arrest. Trump provided no evidence of leaks from the district attorney's office and did not discuss the possible charges in his post. Protest, take our nation back, said Trump, whose supporters stormed the US Capitol buildings on January 6, 2021, to try to overturn his 2020 presidential election defeat. The probe comes as Trump seeks the Republican nomination for the presidency in 2024. No US president, while in office or afterward, has faced criminal charges before. Trump has said he will continue campaigning, even if he is charged with a crime. A spokesperson for Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, whose office has been investigating a $130,000 hush payment Trump's former personal lawyer Michael Cohen made to porn actor Stormy Daniels, declined to comment. Sources have said Bragg's office has been presenting evidence to a grand jury about the payment, which came in the waning days of Trump's 2016 campaign in exchange for Daniels' silence about an affair she said she had with Trump a decade earlier. Trump has denied the affair happened and called the investigation by Bragg, a Democrat, a witch hunt.
You can subscribe to the 5-Minute News Patreon for bonus videos, commentary, and more. Go to patreon.com/5-Minute News.